I am Saul Rodriguez, joined by my co-host Joe Tanksley. How we doing, man? It's been a minute since we come on, and it's been so long. We have a new name.
Yeah, it's been a while, but we're hoping that everybody likes it and takes to it, and it makes it more inviting for people to want to come and listen to us. But I've been pretty good, man. I can't complain. I'm excited to talk about the Bears, as I always am, and the possibilities for the upcoming season. So that's what it is.
No, yeah, hey, good stuff, man. No, I know. Like I said, it's been a minute. We got a great show for you guys today. We joined by Herb Howard of the Bigs Media. But I just wanted to say before we get to that is, of course, we changed the name, but we're gonna be the same old podcast, the same as Bears Recap. We're gonna bring you all the coverage from the upcoming season with post game, pre games, and all that type of stuff. We had a great conversation with Herb Howard, though. We talk about the off season. Any surprise or any guys that have looked great when it comes to the OTAs, mini camps, as well as what he thinks about the running back situation, and also Hard Knocks. Does he want that to happen or not? We even talk about a little bit of the Carolina Panthers. Of course, they look a lot different, and they got Bryce Young and all that. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. Here's our interview with the Bigs Media, Herb Howard. All right, welcome to the interview portion of the podcast. We are joined by the man who covers the Bears for the Bigs Media, Herb Howard. How are we doing today, Herb? Really appreciate you joining us.
Man, I'm all good. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to hang out and talk Bears with y'all. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. And we'll get right into it, man. With the Bears, from the rookie mini camp to the OTAs to the full squad mini camps in June. What have been a few of your takeaways? Any of the rookies impress you, or maybe some of the vets coming into to the workouts and look prime for a big 2023?
Yeah, I think the first thing you notice is that there's a lot more talent on the roster, right? You just look around the field, you see it on paper even. There's just a lot more talent on the roster. And so obviously they came into the offseason with a lot of holes. They weren't going to be able to fill all the holes that they had coming into this offseason. I know they had a lot of resources with money and draft picks, but they just weren't going to be able to fill all the holes. But they filled a pretty good amount of them. Now they got to work on depth. But you talk about some of the young players that have stood out. I think early you just got to look at Tyreek Stevenson, right? His ability to quickly ascend to the top of that depth chart opposite Jalen Johnson. That's a big thing for them. Obviously, they wanted that to happen, but you came into, mini camp and he wasn't, when he came into OTAs, he wasn't in that spot. He was still kind of rotating twos and threes, getting some time with the ones, but then by the time they got around to, mini camp, it was he was there. He was supplanted as number one. He got all the number one reps. And so I think that if he can be who they think he is, it's going to be a huge boost for that secondary. And that secondary is already really, really strong. It could be a really, really strong unit if he is who they hope he is. And so I got to be impressed with what you've seen from him so far. And then talk about a guy like Tyler Scott getting some of the opportunities that he's had the opportunity to get due to injuries to Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney. Guys like him and Valus have had opportunities, and so far they've taken advantage of him. His speed is real. You can see it on the field. So a lot of good things to like. And then the 2D tackles, huge, right? You talk about especially Javon. He's just a huge, huge dude. As soon as you see him, like, God, this dude is huge. So certainly some things to like, and looking forward to the pass coming on here later this month.
Oh, no doubt. You talk about those two huge tackles. I know there's a lot of question marks about them because of who they didn't draft. But what have been your takeaways from those two guys, Pickens and Dexter?
Yeah, I think it's just the things that you can see right away, and it's the size, especially when you talk about Dexter. Pickens is big too, but Dexter's he's a huge dude. But then their ability to continue to get reps, and they've put a lot of reps on these guys, and I think that you look at this defensive line, and nothing is kind of set in stone. I know they got a couple of guys, a couple of veterans. You got to like the Billings sign. I really like the Andrew Billings signing. Obviously, Justin Jones comes back, but there's a huge opportunity for these guys to crack the rotation. Not only is that they need them to crack the rotation and be contributors. In this day and age, you need two waves of defensive linemen. So you need 7-8 guys that can come in and contribute. They need both of those guys to be contributors on this front. And so they're going to get every opportunity to do it. You got to wait till the pass come on to see what they actually look like and where they are.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And there's been a lot of chatter recently about the role of Chase Claypool and what he, how he will fit into the offensive equation. Obviously the additions of DJ Moore, Robert Tonyan, even Tyler Scott have added to the conversation. But how do you view where Chase Claypool fits in with the Bears coming into the season?
I'm cautiously optimistic. You know what I mean? I'm hopeful, right?
Cautiously optimistic.
They need him. They really need him to be a significant factor in this offense. You talk about bringing in DJ Moore and all the attention that he's going to command, going to create opportunities for Darnell Mooney, for Cole Kmet. I think those guys will take advantage of it. But he's the only guy on the roster that's built the way he is, right? He's the only guy that's expected to be in that. Well, you got EQ, but just in terms of, Chase having the size and speed combination that he has, he's got some rare traits. And so they need him to be what they hope he is. Now, for me, it's always a red flag when you see the Pittsburgh Steelers cast off young talent. They don't do that often. Neither do the New England Patriots. Those are two teams who don't do that. And so last year, the Bears kind of tried to kick the tires on N'Keal Harry, and that didn't work out, right? And so now you same thing here later on with Chase Claypool. Those two franchises, they don't generally cast off young talent like that. And so that's always a red flag. That being said, I still remain hopeful that he can be who they hope he is, because if he is, you got a really formidable group of wide receivers right there. Again, talking about the attention that DJ is going to get, we know what Darnell Mooney is. You can see how jacked he's gotten over the offseason. He's going to come back from that injury, and I think Darnell Mooney's going to have a huge season. But if Chase Claypool can also be a big factor, you talk about red zone, you talk about some of those key third downs, that would be a huge, huge bonus for this team right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Ryan Poles really went out his way to get the supporting cast around Justin, with the, addition of DJ Moore and Robert Tonyan even. What I'm interested in hearing about is that running back position. Are we going to have a true running back by committee, or are we going to have a 3-down back? Who's going to step up to be able to do something like that?
Yeah, if I had to bet, I would say it's going to be more of a back committee thing, or even kind of just riding the hot hand and see, who has the hot hand, whose skill set best fits what they want to do on a given week, right? Game planning specific. And so I think that, you'll see Khalil Herbert get the first opportunities early, but I think that everybody will get a chance to show what they can do. I think they got a diverse group. I think all those guys do a lot of different things well. Talking to Matt Eberflus a couple of weeks ago, I asked him about that competition specifically and as it pertains to pass protection. He said pass protection is job 1, and then running is job 2. And we know that Khalil Herbert has struggled in the past with pass protection. And so maybe he's improved. Maybe he's ready to step up in that department. But if he's not, you got a lot of guys behind him that are willing to stick their nose in there. And so I think it'll be an interesting competition throughout training camp and preseason. I think it'll probably continue that way throughout the entirety of the regular season in terms of just running back committee, who has the hot hand. It could be a series-to-series thing. It could be a game-to-game thing.
Yeah, no, that's the thing I like about the Bears right now is how versatile they are in different positions. They have a lot of guys that are kind of like even like Tyler Scott's a perfect example of they describe him as like a Swiss Army knife type guy, and I'm excited to see how they use him in the upcoming season. But Herb, overall, what have been your thoughts on how the Bears have handled the offseason? From the draft to free agency, all that up until now. Have they accomplished what you expected, or did they exceed your expectations?
I think they've pretty much done what I expected them to do. I would have expected them to add, as most people did, a premier, piece on that defensive front, whether it was interior or on the edge. That hasn't happened yet. It's not a knock on the guys they did bring in per se, but there isn't a guy proven in the NFL to say this guy keeps OCs up at night. This is a guy that you got to double team every play. They don't have that guy on the roster right now. So that, leaves a bit of a glaring hole. So the hope is there that they can be kind of greater than the sum of their parts, right? They keep talking about denting the pocket and shortening the corner, and we'll see if they're able to do that. But in terms of the overall plan and overall execution of their offseason, I thought it was pretty much on par with what I expected. I think that Ryan Poles has shown that he has a plan for what he wants to do now. We can argue about whether it's right or wrong. Only time will tell if that plan is right or wrong. But he has a plan, and he's stuck to it so far. He hasn't deviated from it. He hasn't shown that he's going to make kind of any of these snap judgments or overinvest in this position or overinvest in that position. That's the stance that he's taken, and that's what we've seen him do. And so I would say he's just been consistent. He's stuck to his plan so far. Hasn't overinvested, haven't leveraged any future assets for much of anything. And so again, time will tell if he's right or wrong, but I appreciate the fact that he has a plan and is willing to stick to it. Oftentimes in the Bears, we haven't seen a clear sense of direction or a clear sense of what the plan is, and sometimes we've seen them deviate from it too soon. So I applaud him for having a plan and sticking to it so far.
Okay. My question is, how's Justin? There's a lot of mixed reports of how how his OTAs went. We heard that he has a very good connection with DJ Moore, which is very important. But with the other receivers,
True.
not so much. Is that something that's got to come in time? Is there something that he's just trying to figure out some of the things that he can do and can't do? It's early, but what's your assessment of that?
Yeah, I think you're gonna continue to see some of those up and down things, and I think that it's important to place context on everything. And so sometimes you come out of camp or you come out of a practice and you hear, oh, Justin had a rough day, or Justin was missing this, and that's just what happened on that day. But fans don't want to hear anything bad about Justin. So
No,
you
not
say
at all.
that it's like, oh, you hate Justin Fields. It's like, no, I love Justin Fields. I think he's gonna be great. I want him to succeed. I'm just telling you what happened today. And so you hear those things, and I think it's important that they come in context, and you kind of hear some differing reports. I remember one day Justin kind of struggled, and I don't remember which reporter or where he was at talking about the struggles, but I think Jeff Joniak was then on the radio later, and Jeff Joniak was like, he went 15 of 17 and this, and so everybody's like, well, that reporter has to be lying. It's like, well, no, like two things can be true, right? Jeff Joniak, well, number one, was talking about one particular period. And then number two, you got to put things in context. You got to be there to understand how many of those completions were checked down to the running back after what would have been a sack or a throwaway, right? You can't hit them. And so there's just a lot of context that needs to be for these things when you just see a tweet or you hear a report. But I think that Justin's doing fine. I think he's clearly a lot more comfortable in the system right now. Second year, same offensive coordinator, same quarterbacks coach. You can tell that he's just more comfortable in terms of what they're trying to do. He's able to get guys lined up. He's able to answer their questions in great detail. So I really like where Justin is right now. I think that you talk about the connection that he has with DJ Moore. I think that thing materialized a lot faster than most people would have expected. They look really, really connected out there. And then as far as the other guys and maybe not having that connection, listen, his second and third receiver weren't there, right? You didn't have Chase and you didn't have Darnell ball to Tyler Scott. And so this is a different situation. That's going to help everybody, including Justin.
No, yeah, for sure. I think that's what. Yeah, you're definitely right. Where the fans don't want to hear anything like they want to cover him and think he's like they want to keep him as like I don't even know like
man,
what the word,
stars,
right?
I get it. I want him to do well too, and I only want to put out good things about him. And I think more often than not, that's what I see from him. But sometimes you're gonna have a bad day, and if we out there to report what happened today, then I just got to tell you what happened today. But it is what it is.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to behind the scenes stuff, I was actually kind of curious to see what you thought about this. So obviously, with HBO yet to announce who they're going to get on Hard Knocks, coming up either for the preseason or the regular season, do you think the Bears are still alive in it? Would you want that, or you don't think it's good for the Bears to have too much attention on it?
Selfishly, I hope not. If I wasn't on the beat, I would absolutely want that. I would love to see that access. I would love to see all those different things. I like Hard Knocks. I always have every time I watch it for any team. Working the beat, I wonder how much their presence would limit our access, how much that would change about what goes on a daily basis. And so just as selfish reasons, I'm like, no. But other than that, I could certainly see the appeal to it. I don't think that the coaches, I don't think any coach really wants that kind of, behind the scenes access to what they're doing. So I don't know if the coaches want it per se, but obviously that's not their decision. So we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers that they don't get it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
I actually never thought about that from our perspective, from the media. Like, yeah, you're right. Especially when it comes in the locker room's already like so many people already. Imagine, I can only imagine the HBO like big ass cameras in there. So yeah, you're right on that. But
man, like the one-on-ones and things like that you can get. It's like, well, they just sat down one-on-one with HBO, so they're not gonna sit down again. It's like, I just have some concerns about what that would look like for the reporters up there, but. Other than that, I think I'll certainly watch either way. Like either way, I'll still go home and watch it.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people have been saying, the Jets are a good watch if they're on it too. They have probably better chances of being on there. But yeah, I guess we'll see. It'll be good. But Joe, you got anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
What's your assessment? Because we got the Carolina pick. How do you think they're going to do this year, upcoming year? Because that pick is important.
Oh, 17, let's go. No, man, I've been actually watching. They're doing a YouTube series, just behind the scenes with them right now, and I've been watching it, and they seem to have a better roster than I thought. Right, so just kind of watching. I find myself like, no, they got a decent little team they putting together over there, and if they can expedite the process of just having Bryson there and him, learning quickly, and I think they could actually be a decent team. I still hope that they have the worst record in the league. I would like to have number one pick again, like running back. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think they'll probably field a pretty decent team, and then we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing when I looked at their roster and the pickups they made this season. It was interesting to see. Miles Sanders and just
Yeah.
the wild talent, all the talent they've added, and I think they're going
Adam
to have
Thielen.
yeah, Adam Thielen, yeah, and I think it's going to mesh well with the young quarterback. I think he's going to be able to learn from all the veterans and all that. So I think it's pretty good. But Herb, I think it's a good place to wrap things up, man. I really appreciate you coming on here on War Media Bear With Us podcast, and of course, keep doing all the great work with the Bigs Media, man. We definitely love all your work and everyone else at the Bigs, man. Really appreciate it.
No, I greatly appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for inviting me. Salute to y'all. Continue to do the phenomenal work that y'all doing in terms of covering it. Shout out to everything y'all got going on, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Of
you.
course, man. Anytime. Take it easy. All right. Hope you liked our interview with Herb Howard. Great to have him on. As you said, I've seen him all the time at the Bears games, and dude's got some of the best fits. I see all these dudes wearing like
Best
suits
fit.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Best questions.
Yeah, and the best questions. Yeah, most importantly, the best questions. You got to ask the hard. That's the thing with the Bigs Media guys. Those guys ask some of the best questions. From Eugene McIntosh and all those guys that they work hard over there. And of course, our own Josh Hicks, who also works over there with the Bulls, Drew Stevens as well, and the rest of the gang. So yeah, no, it was great talking to him. And what was your main takeaways from your conversation? I mean, you asked about the running back situation as well. Like, what were your takeaways from any of the things that he said?
I think you said it. In the pre-interview. Cautiously optimistic. I think that's one of the things that we need to be looking forward to. The Bears have improved. They've added some talent, but there's still room to grow. And with the moves that Ryan Poles has made, this is something that is going to take some time to cook a little bit. And so that's the main takeaway. You're definitely going to see some improvement, but it might not look how we want it to look at times. It's going to be some ebbs and flows, and it's going to be, you're going to have to go, kind of take the good with the bad. And this is how, you build a football team.
Yeah, you're right. And it's like a lot of people
young
say,
football team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's gonna be messy at times, but I think kind of like what people say, especially I've heard a lot, from Jed Hoyer, the Cubs GM. It's success is not linear. It's not gonna be clean as you go up. There's gonna be ups and downs. So yeah, definitely it was a great time talking to Herb Howard, and it does make me more optimistic with some of the guys, like Tyreek Stevenson and all that. So hopefully it turns out well. But I think that's a good place to wrap things up. We'll be bringing you coverage of the Bears season all year long. So thank you for joining us. For Saul Rodriguez, Joe Tanksley. Everyone have a great week.
Peace.